Hey you guys, welcome to Ages Cozy Crochet Corner, where today in the corner we're going to be doing the Doris pocketed shawl, but this is our no sew version, okay? So one of our crochet family asked if we can do this without having to sew on our pockets, and have the pocket already built in. So I've already done one without the hood. So I wanted to give you guys one with the hood because I know you guys like the hood option. So I'm going to show you in this video how to build the whole entire piece and put a hood on it. So let us get right to the table and see how this works out. Okay, so we're at the table, and I actually got this one. This is the yarn I'll be using today. I wanted to try this out. They were on sale, so I got like a bunch of them, and I rather like it, especially for this shawl. The texture of the yarn is really not bad. It's almost like rope, like kind of liked it. But enough of that. So this yarn was 354 yards, and I have four of these to make this. I may add on a different color on the outside of this shawl just because I kind of want a lighter color in there. But in total, you probably would need four of these because this is 354 yards of yarn. So yeah, and even if I add in a different color, we're just going to put all the yardage here and say we would need four of these. You may have some left over, but I rather have a little bit more left over for another project than to be playing yarn chicken. So that's for that. And in case you wanted to know this color is ginger. And yeah, I rather kind of have to say I like it. And we're using a 5.5 millimeter hook today for this project. Now I'm gonna move the yarn out of here, and I want to bring in just a small section because this is a long one, you guys. So I want to bring in just a small piece. Here we go, of this in here. This color is really nice. This feels really soft. I love how the Doris pieces feel. The texture that's brought in between the cables and the half doubles and the back loop only is really gives a nice feel. So we're making an extremely long piece, and that's because the pockets are worked into this length. So eventually we will get to the point where we just fold up and our pockets are already there, and we will be putting a border on this side and a border on this side to complete this look. So we'll be chaining like 297 for this whole piece, but it's well worth it. It's all worked in, and there aren't as many rows here because we will be working that border. I'm going to show you how to make this whole piece by using a swatch so you can see it all on camera, because this is a lot of scarf to work with. So I'm going to bring this out, and we're going to bring that swatch in. Well, we're going to bring our different yarn in, and we're going to build that swatch. So let's get to it. Okay, so I'm just going to work with this to show you guys the pattern for the larger piece. Now remember, for your larger piece, you're chaining 297, okay? So that's 297. And the multiples for this piece are multiples of 6 plus 3. So that 297 already has the 3 added on to it. And I will put the dimensions for the finished piece with the pockets already folded up in the description box, so you know, um, going by your height or anything, if you need to add or if you want to take away from that number, and you would just do so by sixes. All right, so I'm not going to chain as much as you because I've already finished my larger piece, and that will be a lot to go back and forth to teach you how to do this. So we're just going to work with a swatch, and I'm just going to be chaining. Uh, I'm going to chain 24 plus 3. 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 1, 2, and 3. So once we get to the end of our chain, we're not going to be working in that first loop from the hook, okay? We're not going to be working with the first one. We will be working with into the second one. So into the second loop from the hook, you're just going to place a single crochet. And you're just going to single crochet down your chain. By the time you finish single crocheting all the way down to the end of your chain, you should have 296 single crochets. We only lose 1 stitch on that turn. So go all the way down your piece, just placing 1 single crochet in each of your chain from your foundation. So I've gone all the way to the end, and once you get to the end, you're just going to chain 1 and turn your work. Now the second row is going to be a row of cable stitches. So I'm going to show you how to do the cable. You're going to yarn over and into that first stitch. Now every cable row, we're going to have a double crochet at the beginning in the first stitch and 1 in the last stitch on every cable row. So the first stitch in our cable row is going to be a double crochet. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to look at the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And in the next 6 stitches, that's where we'll be making our first cable. So we're going to skip the first 3 stitches, and into the 4th one, we're going to make a treble. And that's made by yarning over 2 times, going inside your hole, grabbing your yarn, coming up, yarn over, take off 2, yarn over, take off 2, yarn over, take off 2. Your work should look like this. Yarning over 2 times, we're now going to work in the 5th stitch here, and we're going to go in there and make another treble. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to go into that 6th stitch and we're going to make another treble. And now our work looks like this. So now the stitches that we skipped, we're going to go back into the stitches that we skipped. So we're going to yarn over 2 times. And we're going to go reach behind the 3 that we just made. And we're going to go back to the first stitch that we skipped. And we're going to go in there. And then we're going to make a treble. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to go into the 2nd stitch that we skipped. So we're going to reach in the back and find the 2nd stitch we skipped and then make our treble. Yarning over 2 more times, we're going to reach behind those 3 and we're going to find the 3rd stitch that we skipped. We're going to go in there and we're going to make a treble. And now it's going to look like this. Around. Alright, so we're going to yarn over 2 times, and we're going to look at the next set of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And working in our next cable over these 6 stitches, we're going to skip the first 3. 1, 2, 3. And in the 4th one, we're going to go in and make a treble. Yarning over 2 times, and the 4th one, we're going to go in and make a treble. Yarning over 2 times, and in the 6th one, we're going to go in and make a treble. Okay. And now we have to come back to the 3 that we skipped. So yarning over 2 times, we'll go behind those 3 and go to the first one that we skipped and make our treble. Yarning over 2 more times, reach behind the 3 that we first did and go find the second stitch that we skipped and make a treble there. And yarning over 2 more times, we're going to reach behind those 3s one last time and go in and make a treble in the 3rd stitch that we skipped. Now we'll look at the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to skip the first 3, and in the 4th one, we're going to make a treble. Yarning over 2 more times, we're going to go into the 4th stitch and make a treble. Yarning over again 2 times, we're going to 6th stitch and make a treble. And now yarning over 2 times, we're going to reach in back of those 3 and we're going to find the first stitch that we skipped and we're going to make a treble. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to reach behind this and we're going to find the second stitch we skipped and we're going to make a treble. Yarning over 2 more times, we're going to reach behind and we're going to find the 3rd stitch that we skipped and make a treble. Now we should have 7 stitches left, so we'll go work our next cable over our next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to skip the first 3, and then in the 4th one, we're going to make a treble. And the 5th one. And the 6th one. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to come back around to the ones that we skipped and go into the first one, then the second one, then the 3rd one. So first the first one. And the second one. And the 3rd one. Now on your larger piece, you should have in total 49 cables. These groups of 6, you should have 49 of them in your row. Now we're going to yarn over, and in this last stitch we're going to place our double crochet. And this is how all our cable rows will be done. Double crochet at the beginning, 49 cables down the line, and then a double crochet at the end. Chain 1. We're going to turn our work, and our next row is going to be a row of half doubles in the back loop only. So we're going to yarn over, and into that first stitch we're going to find the back loop, which is basically like going into the middle of that stitch and just going into the one in the back, and we're going to make a half double. And we're going to make half doubles in the back loop only all the way down this whole row. Now when you're working over your cables, remember that the ones that you skipped, when you're working over your rows, just remember that spread your cables out so you have the right order. Okay, this one is first, second, third, and this one is fourth, fifth, and sixth. So they should spread out like that. So when you get to your cable rows, you see how they sit on top of each other. Don't be scared to fan them out so you do not miss any of the stitches, and work in that back loop only. And that's actually going to set your cables more sturdy than what they are when you've just made them. And work this whole row just working in the back loop only, making half doubles. Now on our half double back loop only rows, that last stitch, and we've come to our last stitch here, will be worked through both loops. Okay, the last stitch will be worked through both loops. Chain 1 and turn our work. And that's how it's looking so far. So your next row is going to be also back loop only, half doubles. So a back loop, half double, all down this row. And don't forget, in the last stitch, we're going through both loops. Chain 1 and turn your work. Now our next 2 rows are going to be half doubles and our back loops only as well. So we'll complete those on our own. Remember to work only in the back loops for your half doubles. And the last stitch is worked into both loops. So do 2 more rows, and we'll have a total of 4 rows of half doubles and the back loop only. Alright, and that right there is pretty much how the whole pattern is going to go. Cable, 4 rows of half doubles and the back loop only. Cable, 4 rows and the back loop only of half doubles, and we're going to keep working that out until we end on a cable row, just like we began on the cable row. And we're going to put a row of single crochets on that end. Now every single row is going to have 296 stitches. We will not decrease our stitches or take away or add in any way. Every row should have the same amount of stitches. So our next row will be our cable row for this one. And we start our cable rows with a double crochet. And our cable rows are worked in both loops. Yarning over 2 times, we're going to skip our first 3, 1, 2, 3, and work into the 4th, a treble. And then another treble. And another treble. And then we're going to yarn over and go behind and start in the first stitch in which we skipped and place another treble. And we're going to reach behind and go into the second stitch that we skipped and place another treble. And we're going to go behind those 3 and go into the third stitch in which we skipped. And we're going to keep working our cable out throughout the whole row, working in sets of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going into the 4th one. And the 5th one. And the 6th one. Reaching behind and going into the first stitch that we skipped. And going behind that and working into the second stitch that we skipped. And going behind and working in the third. One, two, 3, and in the 4th, we start by placing 1 treble, and in the 5th, we place a treble, and in the 6th. Yarning over 2 times, we reach in the back for the first stitch that we skipped. Reaching in the back for the second stitch we skipped. and the third. And here you skip 1, 2, 3 and into the fourth stitch you place our first treble and the second and the third. Now we're going to go behind and we're going to find the first stitch we skipped. And the second. And the third. And in the last stitch is going to be a double crochet. And as you see, the cable rows, we're just going to repeat. Now we're going to put 4 half doubles right after this cable row in the back loop only. So we'll chain 1. Oh. Turn our work and start those rows from the first stitch, back loop only, half doubles for 4 rows. Now, don't forget that in that last stitch on your half double rows, that last one goes through 2 loops. We're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now, the next row is back to our cable rows. So we're going to start with a double crochet through both loops in that first stitch. And then we're going to keep working our cables all the way down this row. Skipping 3 and going into the 4th. Then the 5th. Then the 6th. Yarning over 2 times. We're going to reach in the back and go to the first one that we skipped and make a treble. Reach in back and go to the second one that we skipped and make a treble. Reach in back and go to the third one that we skipped and make a treble. And we'll carry that on out to the end of the row with the last stitch being a double crochet. Okay, I placed my half double at the end of, my double crochet at the end of that row. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to turn my work, and now I'll be putting on 4 rows of half doubles in the back loop only, just like we did in this section. Starting with the first stitch right in the back loop. I'm going to do this for 4 rows. Placing the last stitch in both loops and chaining 1 and turning my work. Okay, so now finish that row of half doubles and the back loop only. And now my next row is going to be a cable row. So I have to chain one, turn my work, and I begin my last cable row with a double crochet in the first stitch. And then we're going to look at the next 6 stitches, and we're going to skip 3, and in the fourth one place our treble, and the fifth one place our treble, and the sixth one place our treble, and then we're going to come back around behind those stitches, find the first one skipped and place a treble there, find the second one skipped and place a treble there, and find the third one skipped and place a treble there. And we're going to finish our cable stitches for this whole row, ending in a double crochet. Okay, so I've come to my last row of cables. Now we're going to chain one, turn our work, and our last row is going to be a row of single crochets starting in the first stitch through both loops. Don't forget to space them out so you can make sure you're going through the right one. And we're just going to place single crochets all the way down to the end of the row. And once you get to your last stitch, you're going to cut off and just pull through. And this is what your entire piece should look like, but you just should have massive amounts of this. So single crochet row, double crochet row, double crochet, single crochet row, cable stitch row, 4 rows of half doubles in the back loop only, and then cable, 4 rows of half doubles in the back loop only, cable row, and 4 rows of half doubles in the back loop only, cable row, and then the last row is the row of single crochets. So this is the whole piece, and we're going to make that all the way out. Now once we come to the end, now we have to then fold it over so we can bring in our pockets and our borders for either side. Okay, so we've just learned how to make this large, very long piece, and we learned how to do each and every row. So after you have your large piece together, for this one we're going to be putting a hood on it, so we have to block off our hood area. Now I'm going to show you from this end first. We have 49 of these cables in every cable row. We should have 49. So we're going to count 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And that is where we're going to place our first marker. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 9 and then you're going to place another marker. Okay, so these 9 are blocked off for our hood. We will just be working our hood over these cables, and altogether that's going to be 54 stitches, and we should have 20 cables on this side of our pocket shawl. So we have 20 on each side, and we have 9 in the middle, and that is our 49 cables in the cable row, and that's how we're going to block it off. So once you have yours blocked off, we're simply going to be working again over these 52 stitches and placing half doubles for our hood. So we're going to add our yarn on, and we'll start here. I'm going to start here. Now we're not going to be working in this cable. That's to the cable to the right side. We're working to the cable on the left side. So we want to go through the first stitch in that cable, and the first stitch in the cable would be here. Okay, so we're going to add our yarn on there, and then we're going to go right back in and make a half double. Now these half doubles will be worked through both loops. So we're going to go all the way to our other marker, doing half doubles. And remember, we're doing these in both loops. So go from here to the other marker. So I've gone down to the last stitch and this cable right here. So make sure you're going through that last stitch and that cable. Okay, chain 1, and we're going to turn our work. And now we will begin doing the half double just in the back loop only. So we start with the first stitch and we just go through the back loop only. And we're going to continue doing this all the way down until we get back to where we started, which is here. And now that we've already established the first row, the second row, of course, will stop with this last half double, and we'll put that in the back loops. We'll put not just put that in the back loop, so we will put that through both loops. So now this hood is just going to look exactly like our rows within our pattern, where we working our half doubles in the back loop only, but placing the last stitch into both loops. So this hood area is going to be very simple, where I decided not to bring in the cable stitches over the hood. So we're going to continue this all the way out, and we're going to make in total 24 rows in the back loop only. 24 rows in the back loop only. So once we get to our rows, and remember we're just working from here to here, once we get to our number count in rows, then I'll come back in and we'll move on to the next step of our hood. Okay, so we're working on the hood, and I got to my 24 rows of half double. So once I finish, and in the back loop only. So once I finish, I do not want to cut off my yarn. I actually want to fold my hood like this. Okay. And now we're going to close it up. So I'm going to turn it this way. Put my hook back in. And I want to chain 1. Now I'm going to go inside the first stitch in the front and go inside the first stitch in the back and make a single crochet. And I want to match up my stitches, making single crochet, joining them together in the front and in the back, and then making a single crochet. So go in the front and in the back and make a single crochet. So we're going to do that all the way till we get to here. And just add it on with a simple single crochet. Okay, now we're kind of getting to the close to the end. Now that last stitch, and we don't want to forget it, we're going to go through the front here and out the other side. Wait, front here and out the other side. And we have a closed hood. Cut our yarn. And just pull that through. And now this is our hood. So I want to flip this, because this where the joint is the wrong side. So I want to flip it on the right side. Turn my work around. And now we have our hood. Now we're going to be making our pockets, and we're going to make our pockets by folding each end up. So if you have pins, we're going to get our pins, and I'm looking at one of the ends, and because we have a hood on it, we want to make sure we're doing this on the correct side. We need to look at our pocket area. Now we're going to be folding up our pockets in order to create our pockets. And we're going to be using 5 cables in our pockets. Okay, so that's about as much as our pocket will be up. But before we do that, I want to put a little border on the edge of our pocket. Okay, I don't want my pocket to just be so plain. So we're going to put like a ridge border onto the pocket. So I'm going to grab my yarn, and what we do here, we will do on the opposite side as well. And I'm going to add my yarn on here in that first stitch, chain 1, and then I'm going back into that space and make a double crochet. Now I want to double crochet all the way along here. Now we are working on the sides of stitches, so you're just going to place the double crochets, and as it seems natural and best to go along. So you're just going to go all along the edging and place a double crochet in the best space possible. You see that? Best space possible all the way along the edge. You don't want to make them too bunched up. You don't want to make them too far apart. So you just find you a happy medium and go ahead and place these on down. Alright, and I'm going to place my last one right here. And that is how it came out looking. Now we want to chain 1 and turn our work. And into this first double crochet, we want to make a double crochet right on top. Now we want to yarn over and work behind the next double crochet. Grab our yarn and pull up and make our double crochet, making a front post, and yarn over and reach behind and in front of the next one, double crochet, grab our yarn and come back up and place another double crochet. And we made a back post. So we're going to be making front and back posts to the end of this row. Just alternating. You see that gives us a nice ridge pattern and some texture at the top of our pocket. And when we get to the last stitch, we want to place another double crochet on top of this double crochet. Grab our scissors and cut our work here and pull through. And we'll do the same thing on the opposite end. First a row of double crochets, and then the second row double crochet in the first stitch, front and back post alternating all the way to before the last stitch. And in the last stitch we want to place a double crochet on top of the double crochet from the previous row. Okay, so I have finished putting the 2 rows onto my piece. Now this is the inside of my hood, and this would be the inside of my shawl. So the way your shawl falls, the outside of your piece is going to be where your pocket should come in. So we're flipping this up on the outside, okay? So I've decided I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cables in my pocket area. So I've inserted my hook into the first stitch, right, a single crochet right above the first stitch, into that last cable right before we turn. So that is where my pocket's going to start. Now it should match up perfectly where there's a cable here and a cable here. A cable here and a cable here, a cable here and a cable here, a cable here and a cable here, a cable here and a cable here. So this should match up going all the way down. Now I do have this 2 row area. This 2 row area should take up 1, 2, 3, about 3 to 4 stitches. Okay. So I'm going to hold this and put this to where the 2 row area begins, because I know when I'm finished making this cable, the last stitch of this cable should be the last stitch of the cable right behind it, and then I'll be working these stitches, holding it down onto the cable and the next cable up. So I want to pin this one in the same way. Again, this being our 5th one, and working with the first stitch starting in that one. This should match up with a cable here and a cable here, front and back, and cable here, front and back, cable here, front and back, and cable here, front and back. And this working over at least 3 to 4 stitches into the next cable. So I'm going to pin that down right where my last cable stops. So now we have to begin joining this on. Now we're going to join the pockets and work up the border all at the same time. I'm going to get my yarn, and I'm going to add my yarn on here. Now I want to work in the first stitch that we started out with in that cable, and then the first stitch in the cable behind. And there is where we're going to make a double crochet. So now I'm on the second stitch in the front, and I want to be on the second stitch in the back, and I want to make a double crochet there. Now the third stitch in the front and the third stitch in the back, and we're going to make a double crochet there. So we're joining the pockets together on the ends with double crochets going down the line till we get to the end of our pocket. So make sure you're catching the stitches in the front with the stitches in the back, and they all should map up cable to cable. So you have 6 stitches in each cable, so just think about it 6 stitches at a time, and make sure you get all of your stitches, not skipping any of them. And joining them on as you go along. Okay, so now I'm going to remove my pen, because now I'm at the next area where I am just to put this down here. And I'm going to work this down in 1, 2, and 3 stitches. So I have added and joined my pocket all the way down, and now I find myself just having to work on the shawl. So yeah, we're going all the way down until we get to our other side of our pocket. And then I'll come back in and show you how to go down the pocket on that side. Now, if you have started this on the other end and you get to your hood, as soon as I do the bottom side, I'm going to go over the hood. So I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so I've made it all the way back to the opposite end. Now I'm taking my pen out because I want to make sure that I get this even on this side. Some. All right, so the first stitch I'm going to put here into the pocket on the top of the 4 rows and in the back. And then the second one, I'm going through that open hole in here. So we're going to do exactly what we did on the other side, and just placing the pocket down by making double crochets and matching it up. Coming up on the end of my work. And I want to make sure I place these double crochets right into the end. Now, if you're keeping your color the same, then you're good. I am going to change colors. So I'm going to cut my yarn. If you're going to keep your yarn the same, then you do not need to cut your yarn. I just want to add a little color on the outside of this. Well, a little neutral color. Now I'm bringing in a little Aran because I wanted to put a lighter color on the outside of this piece. So if you keep to the same color, chain one and turn your work. And we're going to be going back down this border. So I'm going to add my color, new color on. And I'm going to place a double crochet. Now we want to start doing front and back posts just like we did at the top of the pocket. So my first stitch is a double crochet, and then the next one is going to be a front post. And then we will be doing the back post. So we're going to alternate front and back posts all the way back down to this line until we get to the last stitch where we'll be putting a double crochet. So I'm going to work all the way back down. Now that we have our pocket secure on this side, we no longer have to worry about that. We'll just be working around the double crochets that we have established in the last row. So we'll just be doing front and back posts all the way down to the opposite end. Okay, now I'm coming back to my end. And remember the last stitch, we want to take and place a double crochet on top. Now I'm going to chain one and turn my work. And now we'll be placing 2 rows of double crochets on, now we're placing 2 rows of front and back posts. Remember, the first double crochet is going to sit on top, and the last one is going to sit on top. Everything else is going to be front and back posts, and we will do that for 2 more rows. So all our front posts will stay front posts, and all our back posts will stay back posts. So we're just going to be maintaining what we've already put here. So what we've established in the second row, we will continue out doing for 2 more rows. So we'll have a total of 4 rows on our border on this side. So I've come to the end of that side. I have put 2 more rows on there, and I have a total of 4 rows. I'm just going to pull that right through. So now I have a total of 4 rows for my border, one being in this color, and then I did the last 2 with Aran. So I'm going to flip this over, and now we have to secure down our pockets on the opposite side. I'm actually not even going to flip it over. I'm just going to move it down. All right, now on this side, we will be working with securing down our pocket, and we'll also be going around our hood area. So I like the cream on here. Well, the Aran on here. I wanted to break up that color. So now let's start with doing this side. I moved it around so much. Let me make sure my pen is in the right area. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So that's the last one there. And remember, we're going to go through the first one and the last one right here. We're returning the fifth one. We're going to go right here, and we're going to put our hook in there, and we're going to put the hook into the very next stitch, because that's going to be the end. And we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 cables, and I'm going to pin it right here from my 3 to 4 that I'm going to have to do for these 2 rows. So I'm going to go back to this color for the this closing join, and then I'm going to switch colors again. Alright, so we're going to add this on just like we did on the opposite side. And we're going to go back in there with a double crochet. And we're going to match up our stitches and make double crochets to join this together. Now remember, you have a cable here and a cable here. So 6 stitches should be over 1 cable. And we're joining with our double crochets just as we did on the opposite side. Now I'm just going to go all the way to the edging of my pocket right when I finish the cable area, and show you again how to go over the 2 rows. Make sure my last cable stitch here is my last cable stitch in the back, which it is. And I'm going to take this pen out and I'm going to lay this down because we want to make sure it's laid down perfect, or else you will have like a bulge going on here, which you should not have. Let's see how many stitches I do this in. 1, 2, and 3. Now remember, when you're working in the front, or when you're working in this area, we're working on the side of stitches, so you're just going to grab it where you can. That's why I said 3 to 4 stitches. It depends on how many you have to put in there. You should not have to put more than that, and you shouldn't be putting less than that there. And now we're back onto just the shawl part, so we'll just go into every single crochet here and place a double crochet in it. And when we come back to the hood area, we'll be working on the sides of stitches again, so I want to make sure we get how to place those. So I am coming back up. Well, coming up to my hood area, which is right here. So I want to make sure I go in. Let me show you. We're working on the sides of these stitches. So just like we did for the pocket in those 2 rows, we want to just go in how we did at the edge of the pocket, the top of the pocket. We want to find a suitable place, and we just want to work our stitches in. Now we will be coming back with the front and back posts, so as long as our stitch, we don't have a huge gap in between, it'll be fine. So we want to make sure we go through 2 stitches, not just 1. You don't want to just grab 1. You want to make sure you're going through 2 pieces of yarn when you make your double crochets around this area. So we're going to go over the whole hood just like this, creating stitches in the sides of these stitches. Just making sure we don't have huge gaps. Just making sure we do not have huge gaps in between. And going through 2 pieces of yarn. Okay. You want to make sure you have 2 pieces. And not 1. So once we come off of the hood area, we'll be back to just doing the shawl over the, just working on the shawl area, and we'll just keep doing double crochets, and I'll come back in when we get back to the other pocket to work that down with you. Okay, so I made it back to the last pocket. And now I want to start placing my double crochets to close this off. So I'm going to make sure I go right at the top of the pocket and into the first stitch. Is that the first stitch? Yep. First stitch here. Grab my yarn and make a double crochet. Grab my yarn and make a double crochet. And go in here in the back and make a double crochet. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to remove my pen. I'm going to keep going all the way till I get to the corners. The corner right here. So again, just like we've done on all the other pockets on the other side as well. So just like on the other side, we took and did the next row front and back posts. And then for the next 2 rows, we just kept that up. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side as we did on the other side. The only difference is we have a little bit extra to go because we have to go all the way around the hood. And I may or may not, I'm thinking about it, because I'm switching colors, I might come back in and put an extra row around my border in this color to close off the Aran. But you can put as many rows on the top and or bottom as you would like to make it, to customize it for yourself and to change it up if it's not wide enough for you. So again, I'm going to do my 4 rows just like I did on the other side, but I might come throw another row in here just to go back and have this color on the ends. So we are at the last stitch, so I want to go through here and come out on the opposite side in the last stitch. And then remember, I'm changing colors, so I'm going to cut my yarn. You may not be changing colors, so you don't have to do this. I'm just going to pull this through. If you did not change colors, just chain 1 and turn your work. So once I have done that, I'm just going to add my yarn. On. Sorry. And chain 1 and go back in the hole and make a double crochet, because a double crochet will sit in the first stitch and in the last stitch on our border from here on out. And then we'll start with the front post, and then we'll go to the back post, and we'll alternate that just like we did on the other side. The only thing different with this side is we have more to go down because we have to work all the way down this line, down the shawl, and up and around our hood area and all the way back to our pocket. So that's it. So I'm going to put my other 3 rows on and my Aran, and we'll see if I do another row in the other color, in this color. I'm not sure. I'm gonna play around with it. Sometimes, when we make pieces, it's all about how we feel once we see it finished. I might decide to just leave it just like that. But for the borders for these four, is usually what I do. But if you want to add more at the bottom or more at the top, just be mindful of your hood. You can do either or. Maybe your hood after four is probably going to be fine, but you might want to add more length at the bottom. Then just keep going and put more around the bottom. So I'm gonna do my other three rows, and then we'll come back and see if I decided to do a fifth row or not. So front and back post, and the next row, which will be the third row, will just be maintaining the front and back posts, and the fourth row maintaining front and back posts. All right. Okay, so I have finished going around my piece. I did stop at four rows. I polled the family, and they were like, no, we like it with this color on the end. And I tried it on it. I liked it with this color on the end. So I left it. So, and four rows is great. We're gonna model this thing in a minute. But the last thing that I want to look at with you all, of course, we have to weave in all of our ends on this one, even all of these loose ends, but our pocket area. So I made this piece without the hood, and at the last minute, I decided to get buttons, and I put a button right here and use the ridge stitch because it does have spaces in between them in order to just use it as a buttonhole. Okay. And I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. But I did give the option of where you could just put it on the outside so it's always there for decorative purposes. Now, I was actually looking for more of a cream color button, but I have some. I just don't like the size of it. This one is at least an inch, and I feel like the button needs to be an inch or more, so I did not want to use the other button, so I went with the brown. And it's a wooden button, so I think it's nice. And I'm actually going to, and this is of course totally optional, I'm going to place this on the outside just so it's decorative. So it won't fasten or anything. It'll just be here. Now, if you like the idea of having a button fastener, then you would just fix your button to right here and use these holes in the ridge to let your button come through. So I want to demonstrate the button on the outside. So I'm gonna go right here, which is the middle of my pocket, and I'm gonna sew on my yarn. My thread on my yarn. And then I'm just gonna feed my button in, and let's turn it this way, and tack my button down here. And I think I'm gonna like it this way as well as I liked it with the button being on the outside. On the inside, so you can fasten it. But if you choose to do a button, of course, either way is very, very nice. And trying to go through the right hole. So I'm gonna make sure this is fastened on really good. You know, with buttons, you go around as much as you want to, in and out the holes, until you're comfortable that your button is secure. And I think I'm good there. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to bring my needle right behind my button. And I'm going to make my knot here in the back of the button. And why do I do this? So it does not show on the opposite side. Even though the opposite side is inside a pocket, I still want to be nice and clean with my work. And then I'm just going to feed it back and forth through the back once I've made a knot twice. And cut my thread in the back right there. And that's it. Now I have a button that is fixed on the outside. Let's turn it this way so we can get the correct viewing. Button on the outside that just adds a decorative touch. So let me demonstrate weaving in for those who don't know how to weave in their loose thread yarn. So I'm just going to take and put it on my yarn needle, okay? And a yarn needle is simply a needle with the eye hole large enough that the yarn can fit through. And I'm just going to weave this in and out of the same color work. So I will not be putting the Aran in this burnt orange color. I would only feed it in to its same color and work it back and forth into the one area. I don't need to go all the way down here with it. Just work it back and forth in a certain area until you feel as though it's tucked in there good enough. Oh, wait. And I'm going to do it one more time. And I feel like that's tucked good. I'm going to cut my yarn right at the base where I ended so it's not seen. And you're going to take all of your little pieces like that that's hanging loose and do that to them. All of these little loose pieces and do that to them. So I'm going to throw this thing on and show you guys what it looks like now that it is all completed. I really hope you guys enjoyed the no-sew because I really like how it came out not sewing. All that worrying about perfect pocket placement, it's a thing of the past. It's right here. It's nice and large. It's roomy, and it sits nice and flat. I love it. So let us go and check this piece out being worn. Okay, everybody. So I hope you have fun with this tutorial. I enjoyed bringing it to you. I totally enjoyed the colors. I like how this Aran blends in well with the carrot. So I do plan on gifting away one of these to one of our crochet family. So make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed. Check out my other social media sites and like me on there. Like this video if you like this video. And meet me in the comment section. I love to hear what you guys have to say, and look for the next conversation on the corner, and we'll see who I'll gift one of these lovely shawls to. Oh, and let's wait. You have to see it with the hood up, right? With the hood. So as always, I have fun. I really do enjoy this. And I will see you guys next time on Ages Cozy Crochet Corner.